Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Mainstream Monday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Mooney. I've got my co-host,
John Ward.
John Ward, and we are going to talk about the seventh, yes, it is the seventh Paranormal Activity
Yeah.
movie, Next of Kin, which came out, I want to say 6 years after the last one, 7 years.
It was a well, here I got it right here. I can tell you. It came out in because it was delayed, as we know, because of COVID. Release date was 2021.
2021. And then the other one was 2015, I believe, the last one, the last movie.
The Paranormal Activity 2 Tokyo Night.
No, 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 no. The last movie before this one, which was Ghost Dimension. I think that was made in 2015, I want to say.
Oh, you're
So
you're going
yeah,
backwards.
yeah. So what I'm saying
Yeah,
is it's been a
2015.
while since 5, 6 years, yeah, since the
Yeah.
last one, and kind of that was an interesting thing to learn about because me personally, um I was not a fan of this one. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I didn't like it. Didn't dig
I,
it.
I do find it interesting that your picture is of the old lady and not the hot lead actress.
Yeah, I mean this is more scary. I mean I could have done the hot actress like I've done Katie Holmes before, and whoever I'm a big fan of, but and I thought she was really cute. Like yeah, she was pretty, like hot, but unfortunately that wasn't the thing that saved the movie. I read somewhere where somebody said, and this totally makes sense to me, that it felt like Christopher Landon wrote a movie called Next of Kin, and then they just stapled Paranormal Activity to it and just changed it up because it
I
did not feel Paranormal Activity like.
um it had paranormal activity moments, like when she gets thrown up to the ceiling,
Right.
and there is a on the Blu-ray there's 26 minutes of extended or deleted scenes, and there is a scene of her in a barn being like stuck to the wall and she can't get off because I guess Toby is holding her to the wall.
He's not
uh
Toby in this movie. He's Asmodeus or something. As
which is Toby.
I know it's Toby. It's his name, but
Yeah.
they didn't call him Toby at all. He never
No,
got
but I
called Toby.
but I figure for the people that are watching, we'll just call it Toby because
Well, I
that's who
mean,
it is. Yeah, it is
right, but my
Asmodeus.
problem with
Yeah.
it is it didn't. We've been calling him Toby for so long. Then they bring this other name and basically say it's the same character. But in the last movie that we saw, which I guess 6 years ago, we saw Toby become a person. He transitioned, to a
Well,
human.
I'm guessing maybe just that it's a demon and it can go. I mean,
But why? Once you already got a body, like,
well,
why do you need to like keep doing that? Or at least show us that it did it somehow or whatever. Like, I don't know how, but like even, them looking up on their phone, what is this thing? Oh, oh, it's Asmodeus. Oh my God. Okay. And then they look it up and they go, also known, known as Toby. Okay. And then, oh, Toby, the last
well,
scene, you know.
I don't. Well, do you mean they would know that it's Toby, or that it's just for us to know that it's
Well, it
Toby?
would
Because they
tell
wouldn't
us.
know it's Toby.
Right. They don't know who Toby is. They only
Right.
know but they did look it up on their phones to find out Asmodeus. That's how we got that name and shit. Because
Well, not in this way. They looked it up on a computer,
right, yeah,
on
computer. I
in
thought,
the
oh yeah, that's
audio in
right.
the auto parts store,
Yeah, at the
which
auto parts
I
store.
was surprised that guy was not part of this Amish group. Uh,
Um,
so
they walked. They walked for a little bit, right? Or they got dropped off at the
when they
store.
decide to get out of there, it's during a blizzard,
Right,
and they're walking into town because they're told that there's the auto parts store where they need to get a battery,
right.
and which we never see why the battery dies in their van, but it does.
I
I'm
mean,
guessing that it
do
was
we really need
sabotaged.
to? Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that's
Yeah, it had to be sabotaged. Plus, we wouldn't see it anyways because it's supposed to be found footage. But
right.
But so they go in and they talk to the young guy, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we need a 1083B battery." And the guy's like, "Oh, let me go check to see if we have one." The guys, the sound guy's like, "Hey, can we use your computer?" I did think it was funny that the guy goes, "Yeah, you can use it. Just don't look anything up weird," which of course they do.
Right.
And he comes back with the battery and gives it to them, and then they just leave. They walk back
But
to the
it would be
place.
hilarious if like he looked up at what they did. Like that would be I almost feel like a Christopher Landon moment where he would have looked up like, hey, this is weird. Like,
What is
what are you
this?
like what is this
Well,
stuff that you're looking up? Weirdos?
so I do like the movie, but I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I'm like, what the
You're saying
hell
it might
is
grow on
this?
me?
It could. I liked it. So, okay, so some of it annoyed me. One, it's not found footage
No, no.
because there are scenes that are shot that are not held with a camera, like, and this is spoilers for people who haven't seen it since
Well,
it's a
yeah,
little
if you
more
haven't seen it, then
obscure.
don't watch this. Go
Yeah,
watch the movie
this
on
is the one
Paramount
that
Plus.
probably, yeah, a lot of people haven't seen yet, but even though it's been out there for a little bit. But when our lead girl is, because I'll give a brief thing. It's a camera guy and a sound guy are following a girl who found her. She's adoptive. She found her real mother. That she's at this Amish community, and they're documenting her going to the community. She meets up with an Amish guy,
Who's her brother?
who's going to who it, it's her brother.
I think yeah, I thought that was who she was gonna finally meet her brother.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So then he takes her to the Amish community. So that's the idea.
But
And
was it? It
so
wasn't really her brother then, right? Because that means that the woman had two babies.
it's weird because the leader of the community, who I think is one of the best things in the film,
I liked
um,
him. I like. I will admit,
yeah,
like he was
he's
my
got the
favorite
big
part.
hat and he's got the
Yeah,
beard, and
and he's scary
and
as fuck in a way. Like he's a guy
yeah,
like you don't want to mess with.
right. So they're interviewing him, and he refers to the lead actress's mother as his daughter,
Yeah. So that means
which
that was
means,
grandfather.
but she never, but the our lead actress never comments on that.
Yeah, and she never says, "Wow, that would make you my granddad." You know?
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, is it just kind of like a metaphorical type of thing that it's all the women
No,
there are his daughters or
no,
something?
I
That
don't
it's
think so.
just,
I think that was literally her her father, and he like because the whole idea was I guess that she had a child out of wedlock and that's
yeah,
against
with
the
one of
the
the guys
rules.
from, yeah, from town. It's, yeah, then
Yeah,
she gets banished,
she
but
gets
not banished
banished.
from the community. She just gets banished within the community.
Yeah, so she
So like she
actually
can't
is
eat
like,
with anybody, work with anybody,
and
that type
spoiler
of thing.
alert, she's down in the basement, I guess.
Well, and that is, I know we're skipping all over the place, but all that stuff that's down there, there's a church that they find by from using a drone, and it's, if you notice, the door has the board on the outside
Mm-hmm.
instead of the inside, so they're trying to keep something in.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find it funny when they were at this church. It's that I'm saying this for people who don't know. There's the Amish community, and then like a few miles through the woods, which we see the Amish people kind of going through
Mm-hmm.
a couple of times. There's this church, and they don't know why. Our main cast doesn't know why it's there. The board is on the outside, like it's blocking something in. It's a really old church. And I did find it funny. It's the sound guy who has a weird haircut. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that was a wig or not. And it's the cameraman who's a black guy. And she looks at the black guy and goes, "Do you know how to pick a lock?" And he goes, "Why? Because I'm black?" And he's joking with her. But
Right.
she like gets this serious look on her face. And of course, it's the white guy who knows how to pick a lock. And I did find that to be a little funny. I like that. And then,
I thought that Christopher Landon done some great work, and I'm glad he came back for this, because I think if Christopher Landon wrote it and it was just based on a story by someone else or something, and somebody else wrote this, I think it would have been awful. The humor in it saved like the movie at times where I was just
that's
I
funny.
wanted
Yeah.
to turn it off at times because I was just like it pissed me off that it wasn't there were times where I'm like, this isn't found footage because this isn't real. This isn't happening. Like there was a scene where they're at a dinner table with everybody, and there's two sides. They're showing both sides of the dinner table, right? But then you go on the other side and nobody's holding a camera.
Well, and that's I think a big problem with this is well, there's three cameras that they're using.
Hmm.
So the camera guy has one, which is the
Right,
bigger camera. There is the GoPro, and then the girl or lead is using a smaller handheld one.
right.
But at that dinner scene, my big problem with this is, and if you remember back to the original Paranormal Activity in the documentary, Oren Peli talks about how Mika was shooting the film too well.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, 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 stop that. It needs to look crappy. And that's the problem I think with Next of Kin is it's shot beautifully. Like all that dinner stuff had that gold fire look to it
Do
that you
you
can
think
only get if you set up lights and stuff.
do you think a lot of that had to do with how poorly received the last few have been?
For it
That
looking,
maybe because they bombed in the box office. I mean, not bombed. I mean, they're made more than their
they
money, but
made
they
their,
didn't make
yeah.
nearly as much as they've been. They've been kind of going down in stock, in a way and stuff. So they took the break so that they could just, say that maybe people are just burnt out from, Paranormal Activity, like handheld, found footage films. Because I think in the documentary, we'll talk about that. That's like one of the videos we're doing is talking about the documentary. But one of the things I really liked about the documentary is it talked about how the was it the there's so many found footage films being made right after Paranormal Activity because they saw how cheap it was and how easy like Paranormal Activity did, and they can just make these. And there were so many knockoffs and so many really terrible movies that were made because of that, and people are getting tired of it. It's the
Mhm.
same thing as superhero movies. People are getting tired of superhero movies now. The superhero fatigue is a serious thing. People laugh at it, but like it's a real thing that's happening right now. And I think found footage had a fatigue for a little bit.
I to answer your question, maybe because if you remember the last broadcast, if you've seen that,
I have not
uh,
actually.
it's pretty good, except the very end of it. And this doesn't spoil anything, because I won't say what happens at the actual ending if you do watch it. But at the end, it breaks the wall of found footage,
Um,
where it stops being found footage, and then the camera is it's shot like a movie.
right.
It's not handheld or anything anymore, and a lot of people have a problem with that. And
I get
because
it.
then, because and I think this suffered a little bit of that, because like I was like you brought up the dinner scene, and I totally know what you're talking about, because how would they get all those different angles when the
No,
camera guy set the camera down,
right,
and so he's filming, so the dinner table is vertical to the
right,
camera. There's people on both sides, and then the sound guy is up there recording. So the camera wouldn't look at him.
right,
It would just be straight on. They do that later on when our lead actress finally confronts her mother, and the mom's all fucked up looking. And you get that, okay, so the girl is holding the camera, which she's mostly using as a flashlight, but it's recording, and it's down at her side. But then you also see behind the mom, like a dirty shot, like over her shoulder type of thing, looking at the daughter. And it's like, wait, who's shooting that? The daughter's the only one there, and she's holding the camera next to her. We shouldn't have that other point of view. And they do that a few times in this, where they
there,
break that.
there was another issue I had in the beginning of the movie that wasn't the video of it. I wrote it down. Thank God I wrote these things down. So there was a Denny's scene where that's where she's supposed to go meet her brother and everybody, and they're like hanging out talking or whatever, and then she goes, "Oh, my brother's that must be my brother." So she runs out to go meet him because I guess a taxi or Uber or whatever dropped him off,
Yeah, and he's trying to pay with cash, so
and
that's why they assume it's him.
right. But generally, what you would do is she would bring out the camera or Chris would follow her, right? But he's videotaping her through the wall, like through the glass of the
Right.
Denny's thing, and you can hear them two talk so clearly, like as if they're being mic'd. And that dude wasn't mic'd because he just came off. She didn't have a lavalier on.
Did I thought she did
I
that
don't
at the
think she
very
did.
beginning? Yeah, he goes, how does she goes, how does this
Oh, okay.
look? And he's
Okay.
like, yeah, it looks okay because you could see it. It's like
So
right
maybe
on
okay,
her.
maybe they can get away with that one. Maybe. Because that bothered me. I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember seeing a lavalier on her, but you're probably
Yeah,
right. I just missed
it
that like
I do love the product placement for Denny's, and I do love Denny's. So I kind of like that they're sitting in a Denny's and not just like Donnie's. It's
yeah, right. Well, I mean, they have enough money by now that they can probably say, "Hey, Denny's, would you like to be in our movie?" And they'd be like, "Denny's." I mean, some people might be like, "It's a horror film." No, I don't want to be associated with a horror film, but I'm sure Denny's is like, we serve people 3 o'clock in the morning, like that are hard. Because I've actually walked into a Denny's with a actress who is all bloodied up, like from the night before or whatever, like, fake blood all over her and everything, and they'd be like, "Good God, what happened to you?"
right.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, because
Uh,
they go to they're at the Denny's, they're meeting the brother, and from there we get some information. There they drive to the community
yeah.
where
But by the
they're
way, I want to talk about that guy, the driver that drove them to the community, COVID
oh,
driver. He cracked me up, man.
that's the
Liked
sound
him.
guy.
Was that the sound guy?
That's the sound guy. Because yeah, because where he pulled up in the van
Oh,
and
snap.
yeah, and
For
I've
some
had
reason,
COVID
I
like
thought he was a
five
different guy. That
times.
was a different
No,
guy.
no, that's the sound
Oh,
guy.
that's
And
funny.
now here's the thing. In that 26 minutes, because I like the sound guy, he grew on me.
Yeah. Oh, I liked him from the very beginning.
In the 26 minutes, there's a lot of stuff with him cut out. So he mentions that they're witches at least like three times, I think, in the movie, and then like another, I think maybe twice he mentions in the movie, and then like three times in the deleted or extended scenes. So it gets kind of annoying. Like, okay, we get it. You think they're witches. And then
That's
after
why
he
they were
gets
cut out
thrown,
because they're like two's just
oh
enough
my God.
to
Yeah,
scrape
there's
by.
too many. And then when he gets thrown off the horse, he has the pack on his shoulder, like the ice pack, and he's drinking from the flask.
Right.
And our lead goes, really? And he goes, come on, I just got thrown off a horse. There's a whole segment missing where he is wasted at the second dinner and
Hmm.
he's making all these really weird toasts, almost like at a wedding where the bridesmaid gets up and she's wasted and makes these horrible comments about the bride and all that. And he kind of does the same thing, and it's really embarrassing for like everybody there. And so they had to cut out everything that referenced a hangover or drinking or whatever it is.
Oh, wow.
And it's probably like 10 minutes, and you see them later on, like the sound guy who has a hangover goes out with the cameraman and our lead girl into a barn, and that's where she gets stuck up against the wall, but they can't use it because he's comments, I still have a hangover, and you wouldn't know what that hangover was from if it was in the movie.
Right.
So
I
there is
mean,
a scene
I
of
don't, I don't
her
know.
where, yeah,
Sometimes you could probably like get away with that because I mean, we don't see everything that they do, so maybe he did drink that night, or
I
whatever,
mean,
but
he is drinking with the ice pack, so maybe
yeah.
he could say, "Oh yeah, I have a hangover," but they just cut all that stuff out.
Which makes sense because and then that's the big problem with found footage in general is a lot of times You'll go with something, like I've seen, like something, they'll be like, okay, let's do this scene. Oh man, that works. So let's make it like work over here and over here and over here. And then if something were to be a problem, then they have to cut out here, 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 here. And it takes out a lot. Then you have to go maybe do some reshoots. And that's why I guess Paranormal Activity, that's what they were doing. They were doing a lot of reshoots for the first one. I didn't even know that,
Oh yeah,
you know.
and it looks like like what I've been saying through these is they, and now you know this from watching the documentary, is that they just shot and shot and shot and then
Hmm.
went back and shot. And this looks like the same thing. Because there is an alternate ending, and I'll discuss that later on. But it's yeah, I mean that all the stuff like when they get rejected from the community and they go back to that hotel or the motel probably, the cameraman and our lead girl are talking about the brother,
Hmm.
and they when they hear the noise and she goes into the bathroom and that little kid pops up,
Hmm.
there's a whole thing with him that's missing. There's where he talks and he has this whole dialogue with
I
the
wonder if they
brother.
cut it out because then they have to pay him more.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's kind of better that the kids really don't talk. I mean, but he has like a whole dialogue sequence before in the actual movie. He pops up in the window, scares our actress. I should probably call her by a name. I just give you, but
Um,
uh, what is her name?
what is her name?
Fred. Is her name Fred? Um, Cast. Margot.
Margot. Yes.
Margot.
That
So, and the
because
little
I
kid
thought about
scare.
that. I was like, that's a name that's not very, that almost really does sound Amish,
It's
like,
not, yeah, it doesn't sound like a typical name. And then when she in the actual film, she goes into the bathroom, they see that the window's open and the little kid pops up and she gets scared, like she's shocked and then she laughs it off. That cuts to them in the van and the brother is holding the little kid like he's sleeping and she smiles and stuff at them. Within there's a whole thing
right.
of
So it really
with the
just
kid
cut right
talking.
to them going or getting to the house or
Yeah.
whatever and returning the kid who I get. See, so was this all planned out? Was the guy supposed to look like he was a cast out of his, because I thought that was it. I thought he came to meet her because he was actually cast out of the family or whatever.
No, I so to let people know is be there's when they're at the community and they're doing their thing is she's doing some more investigating, like they find the church and she's going into these different bedrooms and she's going upstairs where she thinks it's, where she finds out that it's her mom's old bedroom. She's doing all of this type of stuff, and the brother doesn't like it. He's just like, you came here for one purpose and now you're doing all
Right.
this other stuff. And then when she is upstairs, so this goes along with to kind of answer what you just said, she finds a whole computer setup.
Yeah, I didn't read
But like
everything that was on there because like it was
it's
small.
all about her.
Okay.
Everything is about her. And it's so you have like the laptop, you have like a hard drive, you have all of this stuff. You got the modem, everything is set up. So obviously, and they did meet earlier, a mailman. Actually, the mailman takes them into town,
Right.
and that's the two guys going to get the battery. And he says, "Oh, I deliver to Amish people. They ain't Amish
They're not
people."
Amish. No.
So there's something going on there, and this entire thing is a ruse.
Yeah.
So him paying with to Uber with cash, them rejecting, the Amish people rejecting them from the house, all that is a
Wait, how
ruse.
does that even make any sense? How do you even call an Uber if like how do you get an Uber without a phone?
I guess he would have to walk somewhere to get. Well, I mean, if you play along with the Amish thing, and then I guess that he would just have to walk somewhere to like a payphone or something, or and
No,
do it
you
that
can
way.
you do that? I thought you had to have an app. I thought you had to do it through the app.
I don't know. Maybe that's a clue.
That
Like
should have been a clue.
when you if you watch it a second time, then you're like, wait a minute, how would he, knowing everything, how would he get that? How would he get that Uber?
Yeah,
And
so somehow or another they have, I mean, they do have internet. They have, you find that all that information out on the computer and everything. I mean, it's not like they're technolo like as Weird Al Yankovic says for Amish Paradise,
love that song.
technologically impaired, you
Yeah,
know, and
great
stuff. So
video, great song.
yeah,
Um,
fucking
and
Coolio hated it, and rest in
yeah,
peace, Coolio. But he hated it, and I was just like, come on, man. It's one of the funniest songs he's ever written, in my opinion. But
and
anyway,
it's all backwards, and it has Mrs. Brady. I mean, come on, what a perfect video that he sings the entire thing backwards.
I didn't
You
know
know,
that.
yeah, yeah. Of course, the song is played forwards. Watch it again. The entire thing is backwards. So so it's playing forwards, but he did it backwards.
What do you
So you
mean?
could see things go into his hand. He doesn't drop it, it goes into his hand.
Okay. And the video?
Yeah, watch it. He comments on this. The entire thing. So the video starts at the end of the video,
Right.
and he goes backwards through the entire video, and then they play it from the beginning, which is the end, with the song going forwards. So if you watch him, he does this kind of weird thing where he pops up because he's actually falling backwards, but it's like
Oh,
this. And then when he's walking through like the Amish area, things are not dropping from his hand, they're going into his hand.
okay.
So like he grabs, I think, something like a pitchfork or something, and
Right.
it goes into his hand.
That's cool. All right. I'll definitely
Yeah,
have to
it's a
rewatch
great
that. Now
video.
now I might have even a lot more respect for it. All right, cool.
The amount of work that probably went into that was most likely amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
just to get that right. And which is nice. We really didn't go off target because it's Amish.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, but then yeah, we she finds all of this computer stuff. Everything is about her. She tells the cameraman about it, which means everything has been fake.
Hmm.
And I got to tell you, man, oh God, I hated. I watched it the first time. I scanned it, and then we had the delay because this is our third time,
Right.
that we wanted to do this.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, so I scanned it, and I had to fast forward through it. And then I scanned it again today, and I had to fast forward through it. Those kids singing and them hitting on the table was so annoying. And I get
I
it.
only
Okay,
watched it
maybe,
once, but yeah, I remember that, and it was terrible.
oh my God, it's awful. It scared my cats. They ran out of the room. I had to turn it all the way down when I watched it the first time. I was not going to watch it again and again. And it's, oh my God, it's extended. In the deleted scenes, it's extended. It's a lot longer.
God.
So what they put in the movie, I guess, is what they thought was needed. And
Yeah.
oh my God, it's awful. But
I don't know if it
she,
was really needed, but
I guess it's, I don't know, part of their thing of what they,
well,
what they're
so
supposed to.
as we were saying before, they're not Amish. So even the guy says
Right,
they're not Amish. They're basically the cult of Asmodeus or
right.
whatever, and stuff. And they're trying to bring him back. But I guess they had him in The Woman or something. They had him in
So this is
Mother.
like, yeah, this is like, and this is why I kind of liked it, why I liked it more. It's kind of like, what is it? A Knock at the Cabin, the M. Night movie.
I hadn't seen it yet.
But I think that's the title of it, right?
Yeah, it's
A
Knock at
Knock
the
at the
Cabin.
Cabin. So they get the knock at the door, the gay couple, the guys hear what the people say, which is, if one of you doesn't die, it's the end of the world. And and I actually liked it. I think it's one of M. Night's better films. And all these things happen,
Please tell me it's
planes
better than
crash, and
Old.
oh, it's 1,000 times better than Old.
God, that
Um,
movie was so terrible.
it was. And this kind of reminded me of that, is if for some reason, the daughter of the mother who is possessed, who looks like the woman from Barbarian, That's what I kept thinking is underneath
That
the
woman?
church with all of the, no, not her, the mother.
The mother. Okay, yes.
The
But not the,
mother,
I guess that's the
yeah,
grandmother or something,
she was
or great
funny when,
grandmother.
yeah, she kind of cracked me up when the sound guy got in all the Amish gear. She walks past him out of the kitchen, going, "It suits you," and then just walks right past the camera. Thank
She
you,
was
Christopher
funny.
Landon. See, once again, it's
He-
funny stuff. And
he's really good at just making levity out of something, when you sort of need it, because, if they took this movie so seriously, I would have just hated it. Like I would have thought this,
yeah,
but
it needed
more that you're
some
talking to me,
humor.
more I'm liking it a little bit more.
Well,
But
it's when she gets when our Margot gets hit to the ceiling,
mhm,
and then you see the old woman go around. She's doing the chant. It cuts to the Margot at the window, and she's doing like a circle type of thing with like a dot in it. That's when I think it gets good. Up to that point, it's kind of like, come on, let's get on with it. Because
mhm,
from that point on, we're or it could be right before that when they get the two-headed goat. I think that's it. When they're in the barn and they find the two-headed goat, like the goat gives birth to the two-headed goat. That's when I think it kicked in for me. Because
yeah.
then that's when the church
Well,
gets into it.
yeah, that's sort of like kind of halfway through, and stuff. So for a halfway through the movie, you gotta freaking, I mean, a lot of it's just set up for everything, and
Yeah, and I bring a knock at the cabin because at the end when they go to once she finds out this is all a ruse, and then they go to the cabin or they go to the church, they get into the church. She goes down into the tunnels. And then of course, they bring her back up. This happens earlier, but because they go down there twice.
right,
So they go down there once, and then near the end, and then they record some stuff. They hear some stuff, and it's all weird. And when they go back again, that's when the camera guy he
yeah,
goes down because she gets kidnapped, and he goes down in there and finds her, like, well, that scene, that's your picture, that's the
yeah,
scene. And basically, like, right below the old woman, she's like, about to I guess be possessed by her mother, who's in that like throne. And I don't we don't really, all we know is that if they don't do the transference of, I guess, I'm still going to say Toby, but if they don't do the transfer, it's the end of the world. And that's where I bring in a knock at the cabin,
right.
is if she did do it and Toby went into her, then the world would be fine. But you have to believe these people that would actually happen.
But also, like, you would have to let her, who's a young girl, who doesn't deserve this to happen to, become possessed by Toby,
That's the
right?
thing. Yeah, Toby has to possess her to save the world.
Right. And so that would mean that she is no longer basically there. She's Toby now.
Right. And then
And
she would stay down in the tunnels. She'd be probably, that would be her throne, I guess.
speaking
And then
of
they would bring
uh,
her food and two-headed goats and all that type of stuff.
speaking of cabin, it kind of reminds me of ending a cabin in the woods.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where they
because where
let
you
the
have the
end of the
end of the
world
world
happen.
and they just decide, fuck it. You know,
It's
spoiler
it's
alert, but
that,
it's been out a long time, so
yeah,
if you haven't
it's
seen it.
my favorite part of that film because it's what I would do. I would do
Well,
that. I
it's
am
because it
so,
should have, that's the only way it should have been happened, you know. You
well,
know what I mean?
I've mentioned this many times, and I like, I would have had no problem if COVID wiped out the world. I would have no problem if the stand happened. I would have no problem if the purge happened. I would have no problem, with any of that, because I just don't think people deserve this planet and how we destroy it. And
But you'd
so,
be okay with being wiped out yourself?
yeah, yeah. I mean, then people would probably say, "Well, then just kill yourself." But but that wouldn't bring the Earth back to
Yeah,
animals
that
and
wouldn't
insects
help
and
everything. The whole point
no.
is that
So yeah, so with the cabin in the woods, it was just like that is the perfect ending. because they're like, you can't do this. You know, it will destroy the world. And both of those people are like, screw it. The world doesn't deserve to live.
That's interesting. That also like because Joss Whedon does that with Age of Ultron, where Ultron wants to wipe out the world because he sees how much humanity is just destroying it. And, if he wipes out humans, then the world will exist, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Thamos is I agreed with
Thanos?
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agreed with, what's the evil transformer?
Megatron?
Megatron. I agreed with Megatron. It's just one of those things where you don't. I just agree with I don't think they're villains, because if you remember when COVID hit and we were all,
Anti-heroes? Maybe is that what it's called?
well, in my opinion they are, but I think with most people they'd say that they're probably villains. But remember with COVID, when all of us had to stay inside and the streets were empty, all of a sudden deers and stuff started coming into the cities. The seas were bluer, they saw more dolphins and whales. That happened fast because we weren't there.
No.
So I was hoping, actually, to kind of go back to the film, I was hoping that she would get Toby in her. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was hoping that she wouldn't get Toby in her, so then we could have the end of the world. But you would have to trust everybody around her that
But
they're correct, that she would have to be to save it.
But she isn't the one who saves it or whatever at the end. At the end it's whatever the other guy gets possessed by Toby at the end anyway.
Well,
Um
okay, so yeah, so there, the cameraman goes down into the caverns, into those tunnels, saves Margot, like the scene that you have. They go up through the caves. The sound guy is up there. He brings them up, and the creature, the mom, kills the old woman. Oh, and the camera guy kills the leader of the
yep.
people, which is great. I love that fight. I love how he's kind of scrambling not to fall down the pit.
Yeah.
And then when the camera guy gets down there, he's twisted and mangled, almost like you see in Family Guy. That
Yeah.
when like the legs are completely in the opposite direction and like bones are stuck out, and he's just all messed up. But they get up. The mother follows them up and then tries to attack them. They close the door. They're running out in a blizzard. The mother attacks and kills the camera guy, like rips his neck out. So he gets some nice gore in there. And they're constantly throwing the camera back and forth, which the one thing I did like with the camera is they're using it as a flashlight. So they're
Yeah.
using it for light, but they're also recording. So I like that. And
Yeah, it
then,
goes back to when, what I always say is like, why are you still filming? But it didn't bother me. I was like, because they're trying to see and like I'm okay with that, or whatever. But
yeah,
I'm
because when like the camera guy goes down into the tunnels, he's using it as a light. He doesn't
mm,
have like a flashlight or anything with him, and there's no lights down there. So except for, I think, like you could see like a candle or like something down there with that old woman. There's like that stuff, but there
yeah,
isn't. There's
there's
not
not
like,
enough light. Like,
yeah, it's not like a mine where there's like lights going across. And then they get back into town. They see the like the van or whatever it is, and it may not be a van, but it's similar. And when they get into it, this is where I just went, this is awesome. And they hit through the barn doors, and the entire community is in end of the world chaos.
yeah,
There
because
are
remember
there,
they were told like when the bell stops, that's when like you guys can come out or whatever, and stuff.
yeah.
Stay in that place until the bell stops. And if you I was listening for it and the bell just kept going. You know, like I was like, is this gonna be a continuity thing? Nope. They made
No,
sure
and
that bell kept going.
everything is on fire. People are on fire. People are murdering each other. The only thing I wish that they would have put in there, because they're supposed to be Amish, but they're witches, so I guess this would be okay, is they needed to show like a couple fucking, like going completely against like what they believe in. So almost like everything that an Amish community would not believe in needed to be done
Right.
in for this. And then we see they take off, and then the girl does the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ending, where she's screaming as she's leaving. They
Right.
run over a couple of people too, and then it goes to black. Now, the ending that you saw is the cop pulls up, he goes into the barn, the brother who lied through this entire thing is crying like a baby. He stands up and he makes the cop shoot himself.
Right.
And then he walks past the cop and he goes outside. He sees another cop pulls up. He shoots that cop.
Or he has that cop shoot himself.
Or that cop shoots himself, and then he gets into the cop car. And if you put on the subtitles,
Hmm. Which I
other
did.
stuff is happening.
Yeah.
So there's like stuff is now starting to happen like in the town, and you
Right.
see him drive down and it fades out, which I don't think we'll ever get a sequel to this. So now the alternate ending is we see the girls screaming as they drive off, same thing, it fades. That fades up to the cop car showing up. He goes inside and he sees the brother who's crying. The brother they look at each other. Now, this is where it breaks found footage again, because it goes back and forth between the two.
Right. So,
So the
yeah.
brother doesn't have a camera,
But
but
do cops all have cameras on them?
they do these days. Yeah, they have the body
Right.
cams.
They have body
And
cams, so okay, so it's real. Like
yeah, it'd be like here. Yeah, like films like here or like somewhere. And you hear the rumbling, and the brother snaps out of it. And he's like, huh? What? And all of a sudden, the cop gets possessed.
hmm
And he lowers his gun. And once he gets possessed, he brings up the gun. And the brother's like, no, 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 no. And the cop shoots him in the head
Right.
and he dies. The cop walks out. Another cop pulls up and goes, hey, man, what's going on? I heard the gunfire. And the cop shoots the cop and he dies. And the cop gets into that patrol car and drives off in the same way. And then it fades.
I don't know if I like that anyway. Like,
So it's
I
the
feel like
exact
that's
same ending. It's just switched.
yeah. I don't know why they wanted to make it a cop at one point or whatever. I mean, are they trying to say something? I mean, about police officers? I don't know,
It
but
might be, maybe it's kind of like a Terminator 2 thing where you make the T-1000 a cop because then he has more access to things and people
well,
trust
yeah,
him.
they have a sequel now. He can walk around, and the demon can, I guess, go, kill people, then possess,
as
whatever.
as a cop.
But
But the one that ended, it would be a half naked Amish guy
right,
with blood
yep,
all over it.
with blood all
So
over him. Who's in a
I
cop car?
I like both, but um yeah, I would actually like to see Next of Kin too.
I don't
I
think
like
we'll
to
make it.
I want to see this world now that since Amadeus, I'll call him
Asmodeus?
Amadeus,
Whatever.
rock
Yeah,
me Osmodeus.
rock me Amadeus.
Yeah, that since since they couldn't get him into the body, would now that Amish guy be going after the girl?
But so they couldn't get him into the body, so isn't that the end of the world?
They didn't get him into the right body. I guess it had to be blood. So it'd be the mom, then the daughter, and then I guess the daughter would probably have to have a kid within the community,
And
and
remember
then it
that
would
guy,
transfer to the
that
daughter.
guy was a brother or whatever. So maybe he really was a
Oh,
real brother.
yeah, maybe.
So
But
maybe he
but
was blood.
also, but all the stuff with Toby is, we had the two sisters, and then of course they killed the one sister because she had the kids. So we have Hunter, but it always seems to be boys
Right.
that they need, but now they need a woman. Now they need the
Yeah.
daughter.
Well, remember at the end of Ghost Dimension, wasn't it a girl who set everything like at the end? Like it was a girl that uh I mean, they ended up giving him like an old man body or whatever, but he I guess he I don't remember how that. It's been a while since I watched that one too. I just remember the old man popping up at the end, and I'm going, "Why
Right.
the fuck is there an old man?" Because I was like, "Wow, is that what Toby really looks like, or something?" You know? And I was
No,
like,
he's
"Is
just in the old man. And all that's confusing too, because we do see throughout the films that Toby's different sizes. That he's
mm-hmm.
a kid or he's an adult or there's all these.
Yeah."
So I guess he could be different things for what he
I mean, because he's
wants.
a demon, he's not really a human, you know?
Yeah, so I guess if you're playing with like a little kid, you'd want to be a little kid. But if you're around
Yeah.
adults, you would be more of an adult.
Yeah,
Something like
I
that.
can I can kind of see that. I can understand that. And like, but and you want to they just wanted to possess someone, I guess. I mean, I don't know. The movie itself I thought was okay, but the more I talked about it, I like it a little bit better, but it's still not one of my faves. There's
It's
just it's
yeah,
just too weird in a way.
I,
Like it just
I don't.
feels weird.
If somebody wanted to say, you know, how many did we say there are? Seven.
Seven.
So if somebody said, "Hey, let's watch two out of the seven." I don't think this would be one. I wouldn't. But if somebody wanted to do a marathon, it'd be like, yeah, we're gonna watch all seven.
We'll watch all
But
seven. Like, yeah, I guess because
yeah,
I would do that if I wouldn't skip it, or whatever, because like it's still part of the franchise. I wouldn't even
yeah.
skip the marked ones, which,
No, I think that's
was
that's actually one of the best ones.
and I
So
and the funniest thing about the marked ones was you were saying before it was like and in the documentary they described it as it was labeled as a um whatever marketed as a spin-off or whatever, not an actual legit movie of it. And I'm like, it felt just like every other one. If you looked at every other one now, including Next of Kin, it fits into that. Like you wouldn't think that this is not, you know.
right.
So I don't get that. I don't get, oh, we can skip that one, as far as like that's not called number five. Yeah, five, but number five is Ghost Dimension. And this would be, this is six, but technically it's seven, because next again, because marked ones, I'm gonna count that. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what you say,
Oh, I definitely count
Blumhouse.
it. I definitely count it as number five.
Yeah.
And it's I think that they were smart in um making it within like the Mexican community. I thought that that was a very smart
Well,
idea, and a lot of the people that have been possessed in this or the characters were all women. So it was nice to see it be this guy and that everybody got along, and I thought that it was a good direction to go without being preachy.
and then
And
I
you
love
know
this, you being the Amish community, because it's different,
well
because it's not
and
a bunch
yeah
of white
it
people getting, attacked by a ghost like all the other ones, or
yeah
whatever, or in the
it
Hispanic one.
is different, and my how I like taking things out of one place and then putting it into another. So
Yeah.
this was Amish country with the snow, and things are a little bit different, and there is that twist. I also like, and this is in all the movies, and I think maybe this has to do a lot with Christopher Landon, is I was so happy. And even with this, I mentioned it to myself while scanning. I am so glad nobody tries to rape her or assault her or come on to her. It isn't like the twist
Well, I
is
mean,
that her.
technically most of them were family, so
Yeah, but you could
unless
have
they're into
like,
some kind of weird incest shit, they're
yeah,
not
but
gonna.
maybe the brother isn't her brother, or maybe the grandfather isn't her
Right.
grandfather, and
Yeah.
like a hand goes to her leg, or maybe the sound guy who isn't really friends with them, he just picks them up at the airport. Maybe he's going to make a move on her or attack her or something. And it's like, oh, I'm so happy about that. There
Yeah,
was
it
no
could have gone
comments.
it could have gone in a different direction.
Yeah, because I'm so tired of all men being portrayed as rapists or assaulters, or that they, when they come onto a woman and she doesn't, and she rejects them, he goes, lesbian, and walks away. Not all men do this. It's a very small percentage.
And you know what? This might come from, the uh we pretty much, I think we figured out from another video that Christopher Landon is gay, and his perspective will be a little bit different than, certain white hetero males, perspective. Sometimes people do that because they think that's funny, like ha ha ha, let me make these people feel uncomfortable in this movie, um, but I I love that. Yeah, they didn't do that with this.
Yeah,
They
I
they
mean,
kept it.
even like Red Letter Media, when they review movies, they always hate stuff that deals with rape. Like they're like, ugh, and then and what's going to be said because they hate it. They all cringe and like roll their eyes, and they're like, do we really need to see this? Like, is
Mm-mm.
this really necessary? And I did watch a video on that movie, She Said, which is about the two reporters with Harvey Weinstein, and the guy who made the video played a scene where the two reporters are talking with one of the accusers in a bar, and this guy comes up and hits on one of the reporters, and the reporter just screams at him like a banshee. And the guy kind of walks away going, fuck you, bitch, lesbian, fuck you. And I'm like, oh my God, and not all men do this. And of
Well,
course,
some
the
men do.
movie, some no, that's what I'm saying. Not all men are that way, but
Right.
it's so tiresome just seeing this every single. Now, if your movie is "I Spit on Your Grave," of course they're going to do that. I mean, that's the whole idea is the rape revenge. But it's like I'm so happy that none of these people, even though they weren't Amish and they were witches, like even when she was going to have the mom transfer the demon from like her to Margot, like she wasn't naked.
Right.
She was still clothed. Like they could have done this whole weird witch naked thing, and they didn't. And yeah, maybe that does have something to do with Christopher Landon because I watched Disturbia, and he wrote the story, and he's one of the two screenwriters. And I also noticed the same thing with Viral. Are
Hmm.
the guys are very timid, like
Hmm.
if in Suburbia is you know Shia LaBeouf's character likes the girl next door and he is spying on her and stuff, but he never makes a move on her. Like he never does anything because he's all nervous and weird about it because she's like really attractive and, as he points out, she's smart,
Hmm.
and she makes the move on him,
Right.
and I like that. I enjoy that, and the same thing is kind of like with Viral, where this guy is with the two girls originally, and he doesn't do anything weird. He doesn't do anything to get him kicked out, but he's not a simp. He's not like
I
a
don't like
total.
these words, man. I'm sick and tired of, because like people overuse words like simp all the time. I'm like, do we need to say that? There's a lot of words out there that just annoy the hell out of me these days. I'll get into some of them with you like privately, because if you say you can't say that, or I don't like people saying that, then all of a sudden you're the problem, you know. But
Right.
I
I don't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily bar me because for something like Velma, Shaggy is a simp to Velma. Like he
right.
would do anything for her, and he doesn't matter how it doesn't matter how shitty that she treats him. Velma's the best, and
Right.
he'll embarrass himself. So certain words to me, I think are correct, but I'm just glad that they're not in the stuff that we've been watching. None of the guys in this have been like we've had the horny teenagers, like in part two and part four,
Yeah, where they're just like
but
want to get it on, but they're done kind of tastefully, I
it's
guess,
done. Yeah, it's just stupid teenager horny stuff,
Yeah.
and they
And then the
never.
girls are usually kind of laugh it off, like,
Yeah,
that's
totally. Yeah,
funny.
don't be stupid, type of
Yeah,
thing.
something like that. Yeah. And I like that. I like that he does that because like A, he's showing that yeah, this is how kids would react. However, he's also not making it weird or whatever, you know. So I
Yeah.
like that. So I think we're at the time we're gonna tell me the box office scores and
Well,
stuff. Do you have
I'll
that?
start with this. So this is the Blu-ray for it that comes in that box set. And if you notice,
Ooh,
it looks like a skull. So there's
yeah.
the church,
There's the
and
church.
the
Ooh,
trees look like a skull. So that would be from his drone.
nice.
And yeah, the only thing on this are the deleted scenes. And because it's already like an hour and 38 minutes, I guess they
Hmm.
consider this to be the actual cut. So there
Okay.
isn't like an extended cut and a regular cut. This would be
There's just
the
deleted
cut.
scenes that don't
Yeah.
go back into it. It's just
And
the movie.
got that. And then on this one, it does do, it's basically the same thing, but the letter, it's just done kind of differently.
Oh, so there's a reversible art. Cool.
Yeah.
It looks the
So
same, but oh, similar enough. Like,
yeah, I mean, there probably wasn't really a poster or anything for this. I'm guessing. I mean, if it, I
yeah.
wish it would have come out in the theater. I'm curious of what it would have done.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and so Blumhouse has always had that sort of knowledge of like, Jason Blum usually knows like, okay, this movie will do well in theaters and this movie will do better in streaming, you know? So for them to actually say a Paranormal Activity movie needs to go to streaming, saying something. So, I
it did.
mean,
I remember it not getting good reviews, and then there was that one reviewer who said like it has nothing to do with the other films, and it's like, no, the demon is there. I
I mean
mean,
the
it's
demon is there, but like once again, like if you don't catch it, as that's Toby, you're gonna think it's a different demon, you know.
yeah. You kind
Uh,
of have to watch all of them, and then you get, oh, look, there it is. That's Toby. So
right.
it's, I don't know. I guess if because you'd made the comment like, well, wait, if Toby was here, then how could Toby be here? Well, I guess the devil could be in, I don't know, San Francisco and
But
France
devils
at
are
the
different
same
than
time.
demons. Like the devil is different than demons, like the devil is its own thing, and then he in the mythological lore of these things, I don't know if they're real or not. I've never met a demon in my life, and I've never seen the devil,
Oh, I
so I can't
dated
say.
one.
Oh, well, then there you go. But no, the idea is like the devil, Lucifer, is like an entity that controls everything. And then there's all these other demons. There's Lilith and then there's the higher up demons, but then there's also the like many other demons that are just sort of, followers or, other creatures. And apparently the idea is that Satan hates them all. So I would love to see like a TV show or a movie where Satan is just treating all his demons like shit all the time. Like, I don't fucking like you. Get the fuck away from me. You're an asshole. Like, what do God, man, they made you and I'm so annoyed,
I think Satan gets a bad rap, but that's, we've only heard one side of the story, so
That would
there
be
are
your story. You'd want to make, well, no, that's
there.
already been done, like Lucifer, right?
Well,
Isn't
they're
the TV
they're
show Lucifer like,
where I think Lucifer's like a good guy.
yeah,
I've
he's
never
sort of,
seen it, but he's,
I don't know, is he solving cases or something? Like,
yeah, and like a lot of Christians didn't like that. They thought that the show should be canceled because Lucifer's not a good guy. But as
but
we know, there's God's
it's
side, there's the
fiction.
devil's side, and then there's the true story. So
The
it's, you
truth,
never
I mean,
know.
whatever. I like,
There's
I don't know what's true, what's not, and I
so
don't. All I know is it is fun to like have different versions of the devil. So if there's, in Supernatural, the devil is, whatever. It's just a guy. Like well, not he's not a guy, but he's in the suit of a guy. He's a man suit of a guy, and he's really good. Mark Pellegrino does a phenomenal job as the devil, as Lucifer. The Lucifer itself, I remember watching one episode because my friend Tina was in it. She was in the first pilot that they did and stuff. She was, I mean, not as she was an extra, I think, in it, which was pretty cool. She was also in that what was that what's that show that Seth MacFarlane did where it's on a ship? Um, it starts with an O.
oh, his Star Trek show,
Yeah. Starts with an O.
the Orville, the
The
Orville.
Orville. Yeah, she was in the pilot for that or something, like that was pretty cool. So I'd watch these. And I watched the
That
Lucifer
was a
one.
great
I was like,
show.
it's all right.
Better than
It's
Star Trek.
yeah, but I don't like Star Trek, so maybe I would like it. I don't know. I like Serenity, so and Firefly. So
I
but
would say it's not better than classic Trek, but it's better than the new Trek.
yeah. But
So
anyway, the point is like yeah, I don't whatever. It doesn't matter what the devil does or how, but the idea is like a devil and a demons are completely different. So the idea is the demons can only be in one place. The devil could be wherever he wants, whenever he wants, because he's got that kind of power, I
well,
guess.
you're probably right, or whoever it was that you got it from, where this was probably a different script. And then
Yeah.
they're like, we let's have at least one connection to the other movies. Let's throw, we'll throw Toby in there. And so yeah, who knows? Maybe this was a script that Christopher Landon wrote like 20 years ago.
Yeah, when I read
You
that on
know,
like Letterboxd and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense.
it
So
does because it is so different because like her being thrown up to the ceiling really doesn't match the rest of the movie, or her being put up against the wall in the deleted scene doesn't match the rest of the movie. If this is just about you need to be possessed by this demon so the world doesn't end, that's not really Paranormal Activity. But then it's like, yeah, just change your script to Paranormal Activity.
someone else also called it Amish Witch Project. So, I mean, I'm like, all right. And that's actually literally true because they call them witches. So,
Yeah, yeah.
there you go. All
Um,
right. So
so
what's the score? What's the damage?
well, there is none. Because this was never released in theaters, there's no money.
Oh. So wait, how does
Nothing.
streaming work, really?
It's done through views.
So the views mean like because in
Views and
Tubi is
hours.
like cents. So how is it for like if you get a movie on like Paramount Plus, do you get a lot of money for each view or is it like still cents?
So from what I understand with Axmis being on Tubi, this is from what Todd Cook told me, is the reason why I'm not making a lot of money off of that is because it's a short film. If it was a feature, because it goes off of minutes and views, you would make more money.
John, we've talked about this. You're not allowed to talk about the money that you make because there's a guy out there that wants to attack you on that,
That's right.
and he'll constantly say, John said this, John said this, John said this.
Even though right now I'm just explaining it that this is what Todd told me and this was months ago. But
Yep.
yeah, so I think that's why. And also I think if I guess it depends on what it is, because David Zaslav, for HBO, removed things that were nobody was watching, and
Yeah,
the
like
actors
Sesame
were getting.
Street and stuff.
Yeah, like he removed like the first 25 years of Sesame Street, and then he took that show off. I think it's called Generation, which is like all the gay guys. And
Never heard of
but
it.
but actors are, yeah, it's kind of like a Euphoria type of thing.
It's
But I guess it
Euphoria with just gay guys.
no, the Euphoria is everybody.
No, no, I'm saying it's Euphoria with gay guys. That's what
Oh
Generation
yes,
is.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I've never watched it. I watched the Euphoria though, but I think that they even so as it's sitting on HBO, they're getting residual checks. So that's why he took them off, because nobody was watching them, and then the actors weren't receiving the checks anymore. But I believe that is now the matrix that they're using for, especially with all of these YouTube like critics for Marvel and Star Wars and all that, is what is the viewership, and how many hours were they viewed.
Mm.
So I know some companies will go off of the first 24 hours and then it dies. So it's not money anymore. It's not that, if it's
Okay. Well,
viewership for streaming. So I don't know what Next of Kin did, because
I,
it's not, there's nothing here that talks about that. I will say that the director, William Eubank, uh he did that movie Underwater.
yeah, the one with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, I really like that.
I
He
haven't
also
seen it. It looked cool. I didn't watch it. Like it's too many things to watch, and I know it was horror, so I'm surprised I didn't because of horror, blood, and coffee, but I just never did.
Yeah, his first film was 2011. It's called Love, which is a science fiction movie. The Signal,
No, no, no.
another.
Love was okay, so it was a science fiction movie, but it was from Angels and Airwaves. So I looked it up because I thought that was
Yes.
pretty cool. So Angels and Airwaves, the band, Tom DeLonge's band from Blink-182, he I guess he commissioned this whole video, this whole movie, and it's just basically one big long music goal of his mu music and songs and stuff, but done through visuals and a
Oh,
story
okay.
and a
Okay.
storyline. So it's got a storyline, but it's like one big like rock opera, kind of thing. And I think I haven't seen it yet. I kind of been interested in checking it out. I saw like the previews to it or whatever, just to see like how different it was than like Next of Kin. And visually, it's amazing. And that's probably why he did bring some really good visual stuff to Paranormal Activity. But once again, that hurts the movie a little bit. Like the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, he's because he hasn't directed a lot. So yeah, Love, The Signal, which is another science fiction
I've
movie.
heard of it, but I haven't seen it. And I know there's two
Yeah,
signal movies. So
yeah. I know. I think I've seen the other one. Yeah, Underwater, which I really liked, which is very H.P. Lovecraft, very cosmic horror. Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin, and then a movie that hasn't come out yet. I don't think. Yeah, it's in post production called Land of Bad with Russell Crowe and Liam Hemsworth.
fuck yeah. So I guess after this, he got more work because I guess it did well enough where if it but the funny thing is, I guess if you do badly in streaming, would anybody know? Do other companies go, "Hey, did that movie make anything in streaming that so we can, put this director, you know what I mean?" Like when you see all the studios can see the box office stuff, right? So they can see if let's use Hunger Games as an example. If Hunger Games does very well in the box office, right? People can tell if it did really well in the box office. It'll be all over the place, numbers and
Right.
different things. So they can see that, and that's when they decide whether or not they want to keep putting like Rachel Zegler in a movie, or if they want to put Macaulay Culkin in a movie, or they want to put whoever, and their movies do very well. Their movie, they say, "Oh, I'm gonna," or director, like William Eubanks, if it does really well, but if it's streaming and they don't know the numbers, I wonder if the studios ever talk to each other and they say,
Well,
"Can you give me the numbers so I know if I want to put him in my movie or direct my movie?"
a lot of that stuff is, from what I understand, is hidden. Is especially with Disney, is and Netflix will do the same thing. But it's. I mean, if you look at something like Five Nights at Freddy's,
Hmm.
that film did huge numbers in the theater, and it also did huge numbers on streaming. So the streaming did not affect the box office.
Which is good because I actually was wondering about that with the fact that, why even do that nowadays? Because like back in the day, you had to do it for COVID, but right now people are still going to the theaters.
I
And
think it depends. If you look at something like Black Widow, that's what Scarlett Johansson had a huge problem with, is that she was supposed to get that back end and she didn't get the back end because they released it streaming on the same day that it was released, which was not part of the contract. So she
yeah,
lost like a couple $1 million or something from that, and that's why
I'm
she
guessing
sued
that
them.
must have been, for Five Nights at Freddy's must have been figured out beforehand. Like okay,
Yeah, I mean,
we're
yeah,
gonna
if it bombs in the theater, then it's probably going to do well streaming. If it does great in the theater, then it may not do well streaming. But in this case, they got lucky and it did both.
good. I didn't see it just because I don't know anything about it.
I didn't like it, so
Okay, like,
I've never played the game, but I know what the game is about, and this is almost 2 hours, but it feels like five.
and
And
it was like that Willy's Wonderland movie that
that's
Nicolas
a yeah,
Cage.
that's a ripoff on Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's that's better because it's only like 90 minutes.
Right.
This is like an hour and 50, and the machines, the killer machines, are barely in it.
Huh.
So it's a whole other story. I mean,
Are
this
they
is like a whole
bears?
other. They're different. One's like a bird. One's a bear.
And was
They're
he barely in it? You said it made me laugh because I was like, wait, wasn't one of them a bear? Like,
yeah.
at least, yeah. So
He
there
was
you go.
birdly in it. But yeah, that's a whole other video. But yeah, I didn't like it. I don't care what
You should
people
do that with
say.
Jack.
I don't know if you liked it or not. I did put
That's
up
the
there that
thing.
I
That would
thought
be
that it was
fun.
crappy.
That would be a fun thing for you guys to do because I don't really want to watch it. But I know you probably want to discuss it with somebody, and
I don't know. I mean, I would rather discuss maybe Marvels with somebody because I thought that was pretty bad.
I didn't see
So
that yet. No.
that's yeah,
And
very bad.
look, you know me, I'm a Marvel fan and everything, and people be like, "Well, if you're such a fan, why don't you go see it?" Because I'm like, eh, like
Just
I'll wait
because you're a
for
fan of something doesn't mean that you have to see every single thing. I mean, it
right.
just
And
I'm a
I
fan
hate
of
that
pizza,
crap.
but I haven't
I
eaten
hate that
every
mentality
pizza.
of like you're not a true fan because you didn't go see this movie, and I'm like, dudes, there's a million movies I haven't seen. I'm a Blumhouse fan. I love Blumhouse. I mean, sometimes they don't make the movies I'm hoping that they'd make, but with like we've been reviewing, we reviewed The Hunt, and I really like that. We reviewed, we're gonna review Black Christmas. Not a fan of that movie.
Oh
Can't wait to
man.
rewatch it just because it's so bad.
Oh fuck, that's right. We got to
Yeah,
yeah. Shit.
you get ready, kids, because that's one of our next
I
videos coming up, and
I need my
yeah.
diva cup. That's like the only thing I remember in the whole film is the girl coming
Mm.
into the other girl's dorm room and going, I have a test. I need my diva cup. And I'm like, what the fuck is a diva cup? And I don't think I want to know. This is obviously written by women for women.
I
So
know. Um, but
oh, but so
yeah.
we'll finish this and then we can wrap up soon. Um so yeah, so he's just gotten bigger with his stuff. He was primarily a cinematographer on Nothing I Know.
Okay, so a bunch of indies or
So
so. Yeah.
yeah, and then other works,
Maybe music
cameraman.
videos too, you know.
Yeah, a lot of these are short films. And then yeah, other works. He did work on Superman Returns, the
Cool.
remake of Fun and Dick and Jane. Collateral, is that the Tom? Yeah, he worked on Tom Cruise's Collateral. He was
Nice.
uncredited as a Panavision camera technician. So he's out there. He deserves this. And
He
and
worked his ass off. He worked his way up, you know.
yeah, and with I mean, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we want to get the director who did
Underwater.
Underwater," I'd be like, "Oh fuck yeah,"
Yeah.
because that was a good movie.
Yeah. And
And
I
Kristen
mean,
Stewart was
next
hot
to
in it
Ken
too.
was not as good, but from what you're thinking, I guess. But not terrible. Like I honestly I guess we'll go into our ratings now, you know.
Sure.
And I just give this movie 3 stars. I mean, it's just okay. It's not, it's not great, but it's not bad or like not kind of meh, or anything either. It's kind of like it's okay. Like I liked it enough where, and the more we talked about it, the more I'm like, okay, I like it a little bit more maybe. And maybe you're right. I have to watch it again to sort of to fully,
I think
get it.
one, yeah, it's almost a two timer, because once the twist happens, you can go back. Like I didn't even think about it till you brought it up with like, wait, how would an Amish person order an Uber? I never
Mhm.
thought about that until you brought that up. It's like, oh yeah, how would he? Oh, because he has the computer at home. But they
Yeah.
don't think about it.
Yeah, or they probably have phones, but they don't show any of that,
Yeah.
because you're not supposed to see that or whatever. So, I mean there's ways, but whatever for them. But yeah, how would he do that? Or if it was a
The
taxi ad.
Uber Lyft would just be like the horse and carriage. And they would pay in like chickens and carrots and hay. How far are you going? I don't know why I used like an English or Irish accent, but how far are you going? Going into town. That's two chickens.
Two chickens. Oh Lord.
That's
I don't
one
know.
barn raising.
I would be down to watch a whole thing where people are getting Ubers with horses, you know. Like, could you imagine? That would be a funny skit. But like, could you imagine if somebody was like sitting at their house and they call an Uber and literally just a horse and carriage pops up and you're just like,
Well, if it's an Amish one, they would be racing to like their house, and you would have like the horse and carriage like trying to fight each other to get there first so they could get the two chickens. And then like one of them has four horses instead of two, so they're
that's
ahead.
funny.
Because
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen when I've taken Lyft, I can actually see the people trying to get to me.
right.
And then it will say like Susan will pick you up in 5 minutes, but then some guy named Dan shows up like a minute later, and it's like, oh, okay, he beat her.
I've never actually had that happen before. I've never had somebody actually, because usually it's whoever I ask or whoever I'm getting is whoever I get, you
No,
know?
I've had different people. Yeah, we'll say,
Wow,
yeah,
weird.
Susan will pick you up in 5 minutes, like she's 5 minutes away, and then some of the guy shows up. I don't
Huh.
care. Just I just need to go from here to there. That's all
I
I
don't,
care.
I like, I don't know if I care, but I'd be confused. I'd just be like, you're not Susan,
Who are
or
you
are you?
these days?
You never know.
These
You know,
days. So
people can identify as Susan. I don't care.
oh, but okay, so my rating, I'm giving this 3.5, and I'm only giving it the half more because of the ending. I
No.
all that end of the world stuff to me is just friggin' awesome.
Yeah, I
I
think you
mean,
really
that's
love that stuff.
I just love
I
the guy
mean,
walking around on fire.
yeah, like just the whole world in chaos at that, the whole Amish
Yeah,
community
some
in
some
chaos.
Amish guy or Amish guy just went up and lit him on fire.
I love how that male guy was like, yeah, I deliver to all the Amish people and they're not Amish,
They're not
you know.
Amish.
Yeah. They're like, what are you talking about? They say they're Amish. No. Nope, nope. Oh
So
well. Well, that's it for Next of Kin. So that's it of all the like the real Paranormal Activity movies. So up next, the next video you guys are gonna get the last video of the season.
oh
So get ready for that. But the last video of the Mainstream Monday is gonna be the documentary slash I guess what is it? Tokyo Nights. So just get ready for that. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
yeah, the
And
unofficial part two. Yeah,
unofficial part two. Yeah, I
I
say
can.
it's the
Well, we'll discuss it.
multiversal part two.
Yeah, we'll discuss that when we get to it. So
Yep.
yeah,
All right, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Until then, everybody. Bye.
bye.